Welcome to the highlights of the 2012 UCI World Road Cup for Women. Who will be the main protagonists this year? Well, double world champion Giorgia Bronzini will be hoping to make her mark as an out-and-out sprint specialist throughout the year. The rider who challenged eventual winner Marianne Vos most closely last year was her teammate Annemiek van Vleuten. She's in a new team. Will she have still the legs she had last year? And what about British superclimber Emma Pooley? She too moves to a new team, this time AA Drink. Will it have affected her performance or not? And the other Emma Johansson, the Swedish national champion. She's always there, or thereabouts, and is sure to challenge again this year. But the one woman they all have to get past to the line first is Marianne Vos, a multiple world champion and last year's World Cup winner. She lays down the marker for everybody else. Welcome. Welcome to the first of our roundup programs of the 2012 UCI World Cup for Women on the road. This is the Ronde van Drenthe, across the barren flatlands of the Netherlands. Even more so this year because they've brought forward the date by 2 weeks. Makes it even more cold and even more lonely out there, and very hard for young riders not used to this flatlands racing. New team on the block, Green Edge, have world time trial champion Judith Arndt to their name. And another new team, if not such new faces, is the Stitching Rabobank ladies team with World Cup winner Marianne Vos. The route runs out from Hoogeveen, through Sleen and Emmen, out to Walter and Exlu, back through Westerbork and up the Col de Vam 3 times, once on the way out, twice in a loop on the way back. That is the deciding point. Well, true to form in the lowlands, the weather was pretty miserable early spring as the peloton rolled out of Drenthe, this what's become the traditional route out on this brick-paved road. But it's not long before the peloton gets out into the countryside. The race is mostly on tarmac, although there are several long sections on brick-paved roads. Not the sort of cobblestones you'd see at Paris-Roubaix or even at the Tour of Flanders. But even so, they can catch people out. This is the Col du Vam, first time around. Or the Berg de Vam, if you want to speak in Dutch. And it is the point where the race pivots. First time round, though, not an awful lot going on. The big favourites pulling away from the rest of the peloton. However, nobody really wants to show their hand this early in the race. They've got to go up twice. But a few people testing legs. Lizzie Armistead, the British champion, just seeing who has some strength in those legs. And immediately, Marianne Vos is looking across and closing down that gap. Already riders beginning to struggle. About 30 or so riders, the strongest of the peloton, getting out ahead of the rest. It is a baptism of fire, this race, for anybody who's never done it. It is cold, it's miserable, and the pace is pretty hard. Even so, because the favourites do watch each other, some people can take a speculative flyer. In this case, it's Chantal Black of the AA Drinks squad, who's trying to get away. He's already been whittled down to about 30 or so riders, big names as well. And a lot of the rest of the peloton really suffering at the back. And this is causing a few people to panic, but not the world champion Giorgia Bronzini. She's just quite happy to sit there at the moment. Too early for her to do anything. She is a sprinter. She'll wait till her team deliver her to the line and see if she can take the sprint victory. Meanwhile, Chantal Black is getting her head down and working hard. The pace here, pretty high overall throughout the entire race. Thankfully, no driving wind, which can be a feature of this area, although it was pretty miserably windy. You can see that Black has got a sizable lead already, and nobody's particularly interested in doing the chasing. Everybody sitting in this group, right at the back in the yellow, is Monia Bacciali of the Cipollini squad. Suddenly, somebody tries to react. It's Elisa Longo Borghini and Roxanne Knetemann of the Rabobank squad. And Borghini of High Tech. Well, it looks like Kinetum are not interested in doing an awful lot of work, to be honest, with Longo Borghini driving these two along, trying to get across to Chantal Black, but it looks with only one person wanting to work, or do the majority of the work, that the peloton are going to shut that one down pretty quickly, and that's exactly what happens here. Well, Black has opened up a reasonably big lead now. Over a minute and a half on the rest of the peloton. But it's largely because they're all watching each other. They know this is almost always a race that comes down to a sprint finish. But you can see Emma Johansson in the middle there in the Swedish champions jersey. She's hardly pedaling at all. Glass cranking, as they say. And holding a bit of a conversation. That allows Black to continue on her way. Also means that her team, AA Drink, doesn't have to chase, unlike Rabobank. Kirsten Wild is the named sprinter for AA Drink, but they don't have to chase because they've got a woman up ahead. Rabobank, on the other hand, have the World Cup winner from last year, Marianne Vos, in their team, and she is losing time on Black, who she knows is a formidable opponent. So her team, Rabobank, having to do the chasing there. That's benefiting everybody else. The sun just about trying to break through, and at least the roads are getting a little drier now. 1, 2, 3 riders from Rabobank. All concerned with doing the shutting down, and no other teams are giving them a hand at the moment. Why on earth should they, after all? They put themselves on the front to do the work for their team leader and the predominant racer in the women's peloton, Marianne Vos. And so no other team are going to even bother doing any work if they don't have to. Well, up the VAM once again. And we're coming towards the closing stages of this race now, and you can see just how close the rest of the peloton are, and they catch a brave Chantal Black over the top. Now, this is a good point to attack. Rabobank are forcing the pace, as are the Skill team. Skill in the middle there, in the white with the pale green. And I think the third rider is a rider from Tibco. But Rabobank pushing on. This is still all gamesmanship by them, though, because Marianne Vos will be looking for the win today. That is absolutely for sure, unless she can't possibly get up in the sprint. But that shows who's got legs and who hasn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 riders. Just pushing on over the top. But there's no commitment to this, is there? They're all just freewheeling down the other side. And unless you're thoroughly committed and go on the attack on the descent down from the VAM, it's not going to happen for you. Giorgia Bronzini sitting in the middle there, so she's got some legs today. And Marianne Vos right up at the start. Oh! Green Edge, the new Australian team, professional team, who have put a lot of work into women's racing. Send Cromwell up the road. Vos is not allowing that at all. Shut that down straight away, and Kirsten Wild is directly on the wheel, as is Bacciali of the Cipollini squad in the fluorescent yellow outfit. Marianne Vos is in the red and white and blue of Dutch national champion. Look, Green Edge are trying to play the old 1-2 here. They send another rider up the far side of the road, and that strung them out a bit. It looks like Arndt. As the pace goes up, the peloton in one long line. It's the safe place to be when you're entering a corner, especially if the corner's tight, and knock off the gas again. You can string it out into one long line. There's far, far less chance of a big pile-up. Armistead on the left-hand side of your screen, the British national champion. Got a very good sprint on her, and she's becoming more and more confident as time goes on. Green Edge have done fantastically well. They've got 1, 2, 3, at least 3 riders up in this breakaway. And so have AA Drink. They've got a good selection. World champion Giorgia Bronzini, who is the spokeswoman for the women's peloton. Takes a turn on the front, but notices just how strong Marianne Vos is and sits in the wheel. Emma Jansson in the Swedish national champions jersey from High Tech. Now they're all looking. They're looking. Go on, you do some work, says Kirsten Wild. Nobody wants to take responsibility yet. We're coming in towards the closing stages of the Ronde van Drenthe, and they know it's going to come down to a sprint finish yet. And there are at least 3 or 4 women with a decent kick on them here. Lizzie Armistead in a great position here. And there she goes. Well, she's pushing on. She's got teammates behind her who also got a great sprint on them, but Armistead herself is no slouch. With 3 or 4 women in the bunch, they can afford to push on and put the pressure on other teams who have less. Into one of the roundabouts. A little bit of a slip. There's clearly diesel down on the road here. That's Megan Garnier of the Tibco squad. Alessandro Borci of Cipollini also hits the deck, but there's about 4 riders came down at different points. On the outskirts of Drenthe, we've got such a short space of time now. Just the run in for these girls now as Armistead gets towards the front. Puts the hammer down. She's got Kirsten Wild, the big, powerful AA drink sprinter. She's leading out behind her. Bacciali comes on the left-hand side on the fluorescent yellow kit of Cipollini. Oh, but look at the strength of Marianne Vos as she kicks. Kirsten Wild is having trouble getting into her wheel. Emma Johansson, the Swedish champion, just a little bit balked by Kirsten Wild, but she doesn't have the kick. It's round 1 to the Netherlands national champion and the World Cup winner from last year. Marianne Vos just has too much power. She's not an out-and-out sprinter, but she can do anything, this woman. And look at the gap she's got. She's got enough time to take her hands off the bars. 2 bike lengths over Kirsten Wild, who chucks a bike at the line. Emma Johansson gets 3rd. Good results for skill. They're in there as well. So first blood to the new Stitching Rabobank women's team ahead of AA Drinks Kirsten Wild and High Tech Products Emma Jansson. Here's the full top 10 then. Good result by Pauline Ferrand-Prévot to get 10th. Lois Skolowijk, the best of the Green Edge riders after all that work. And the rankings reflect the results today. Gunnerwijk's in the top 10 there at 9th with 15 points, but 75 points go to Marianne Vos. And so the circus moves on to northern Italy and the Trofeo Alfredo Binda. You couldn't get a different race than the last one at Ronde van Drenthe than this one. Fabulous scenery around the Varese area. Scene of so many World Championship encounters. And the weather absolutely beautiful. Still a little bit cold. Lots of arm warmers around. And a number of national teams here, including a young French team and a team from the United States of America led by Kristen Armstrong. All the local teams were around. And as always, it attracts a lot of interest. The World Cup jersey on the shoulders of Marianne Vos following her victory. This is where we are. Leave Setilio and into the hills around Lake Maggiore before running in a loop back to Setilio again. Check out the profile. This is what makes it different to Drenthe, where that was pan flat. Look at this. It's up and down all day, and it's that hill there and the Orino which really makes this race. Quite a different type of rider you'll see in the action here today, except of course for those who are fantastic all-rounders. But Emma Pooley on the far side of your shot should play a good part today. Riding for AA Drinks now, on the far side there by the barriers. This suits her. And immediately the USA taking command of the pace of the peloton. Armstrong, their big named rider, an extremely talented rider. A world champion in the past against the clock. And this race rewards attacking rides, but they don't always succeed. You can try early on in a race, but it won't get you far because the peloton are not allowing you away. Not for the moment anyway. On these flat roads out of Setilio. Somebody trying to get away before the hills. US of A taking over in charge, not letting anybody up the road. It's a combined USA team. And Armstrong has her sights set on victory today. Or possibly they would allow an attack with Shelley Olds. Pace pretty high, as it always is in the first hour of this race, as people try to assert their dominance. If somebody can get away early, they will do. Green Edge once again playing a fairly prominent part this morning, because they want to succeed. They've had wonderful success on the road with the men early on in the season. This is Tagliaferro of the Cipollini team, pushing an enormous gear going into the first of the hills, but just a little bit of a speculative test of legs, I think, because she's not being allowed to get away, and she's not really trying either. Just waiting for the peloton to ride up to her. Can't really miss the Cipollini team, can you? Fluorescent yellow. Judith Arndt, World Time Trial Champion, riding for Green Edge now. Of course, with the demise of the HTC team, it was difficult to find berths for all the riders, but Judith Arndt has been around for so long and is such a consistent competitor that she had no trouble moving on to another big team. And Green Edge put a lot of money and time and should be applauded for putting so much into women's racing. Well, you don't see her much really giving it stick in the big hills. Just showing how strong she is, just riding away, just testing a few legs, but still no big attacks going. But certainly they have some intent. They've got 3 or 4 riders, Green Edge, who they could possibly put up the road and have some chance of victory. As we say, the Trofeo Alfredo Binda, it really rewards attacking riders. Remember this corner from last year? That's where Emma Pooley went off. Hence the padding on that corner. This is Lois Gunnerwijk, who's come out of the front of the peloton. Big, strong rider. And making a bid for freedom up the road. This looks promising. Nobody's gone with her at all. 500 meters to the summit of the Arenio here. And this is towards the back end of this race today. And Gunnerwijk's made a good move. Back in the peloton, they'll be thinking about how they respond to this. Are they just going to ride tempo? No, they're not. 3 riders seeing the danger. Mariana Vos in the World Cup Leaders jersey. Naomi Cantili, the Italian national champion, in the Italian tricolour jersey there. And Evelyn Stevens of the Specialized Lululemon squad in the dark grey and black there, number 15. Cantili, a very, very accomplished rider. And Vos is the one who's driven that along. That's a good trio to be chasing down Lois Gunnerwijk. And they're working hard. And other riders have seen the danger here. Interesting, Green Edge have got somebody in here. Maybe Gunnerwijk send up the road as a hare. Rabobank doing very, very little work here. Just sitting, and why on earth not? That's Ferrand Prévost, just sitting number 9 there, not doing any work at all. And why should she? She's got Mariana Vos up the road. It's the teams that have missed out that have to get across. Emma Johansson being one of them. There she is. And they're working hard. They've made contact now. That's good. Longo Borghini at the back there. Van Vluten's also in this group. Johansson and Armstrong. This is a very, very good group indeed. And Lois looks over her shoulder. She knows they're coming up. It was a good speculative move. There's Ferrand Prévost, looks over her shoulder to see where her team leader Mariana Vos is. And Emma Johansson wanting to stay away. Not wanting to let too many people come across, to whittle people down really into a small group. And they still haven't made the contact. They're going to. But the initial hard work done by Vos, Cantile and Stevens, they're just looking at each other, I think, now. How far back are they? Well, this is Emma Pooley. She's jumped across the gap with Looks like that's going past Gunnervik there. This is where Pooley excels on these hills. She's put in an attack, and Marianne Vos is having to dig deep to stay with her. She's supremely fit and supremely strong, but Pooley is the mistress of this sort of thing. Just look at her out of the saddle. She's making a whole load of riders suffer here. That's going to make it very difficult to bridge the gap for those riders who've missed out. One rider isn't going to do well today. Giorgia Bronzini, the sprinter. Double world champion now, and she's going backwards faster than forwards. Oh, huge attack by Marianne Vos. Well, Stevens tries to get onto, I think it's Warwick actually, trying to get onto the wheel of Marianne Vos. It's a vain hope, I feel. And given up. That's it. Vos is gone. There's only a handful of women in this peloton who can do something about this. And she takes the corner sharply. Whoa! Nasty fall behind her. Doesn't hold anybody up. Emma Pooley of AA Drink with Cantlay just in her wheel. Pooley sort of looking behind to see who's going to come or who isn't going to come. Is anybody going to help me? Am I going to go? And Vos is off. Quick speculative look behind to see if anybody's going to chase her, but they're not. This is further down the field, and Giorgia Bronzini just got to get through this today if she possibly can. It's not her sort of terrain. Vos is out by herself. There's less than 10 kilometers to go now, and Emma Johansson sees the danger. Cantlay has sat there and sat there and sat there. Ferrand-Prévot is doing the policeman's job. She's sitting there seeing if she can get a better result out of this, but she isn't going to work. Clever move. Oh, take that right the way up to the edge. She is so strong. Good move. Titania Gerdezo comes across. They're clearly not going full bore here at the front. Pooley tries to push the pace on again. But if Gerdezo can come straight across, they are not going full bore. Looks like a little bit of hesitation behind. Who is going to take the responsibility of chasing? It's going to be far, far too late if they're not very careful indeed, because there is the 1 kilometer to go banner. And Marianne Vos is showing no signs of slowing down. Ultimo chilometer, as the Italians would have it here in Setilio. The weather has stayed good, and Marianne Vos is in absolutely flying form. The World Cup leader is going to double her advantage as she goes into the penultimate straight. There's a right-hander at the end here. She'll swing hard right, 90 degrees. And then into the finishing straight. And nowhere it is in sight anybody who can challenge her. A fine, fine solo win. A beautiful attacking ride. Just on the far side of Origno for Marianne Vos. Well, is there anybody who can challenge this woman? Is there anybody who can stop her? She's won world championship titles on the road, in cyclocross, on the track. She's the most extraordinary athlete, and she's got a solo in to the win here in the Trofeo Alfredo Binda. Just 50 meters to go coming up, and she's got enough time to pull down the jersey for the sponsors, take off the glasses. That's the money picture. Marianne Vos takes her second win in a row, and we're only 2 races into the season. Gerdezo. Well, having ridden across the gap, she must think now, why did I leave it so late to ride there in the first place? She's clearly strong. If she could have stayed up with the lead group first of all, then she may have been closer to Marianne Vos when she jumped. Driving for home then. Tatiana Gerdezo takes second place, and sprinting out from behind everybody else, it looks like Trixie Warwick to take third. What a fine win by Marianne Vos. Everybody left scrapping for the crumbs off of the plate. Here we are then, on the top step of the podium once again for Marianne Vos. Well, a clear 34 seconds over Gerdezo had Vos, and then Trixie Warwick taking third. Judith Arndt, Johansson and Cantlay round out the top 6. So this is what it does to the rankings. Vos, 150. Nearest rival, Trixie Warwick, now at 62. Tied with Emma Johansson. Next up, the Women's World Cup move to the brutal cobbles of the Tour of Flanders, the Ronde van Vlaanderen. Can anybody challenge Marianne Vos? She's already supremely dominant in 2012.
Are you ready? UCItravel.com. UCItravel.com, your ultimate cycling travel partner.